my thing was, I wanted to find out why the Sadducees did not believe in heaven and the resurrection of the dead.
Okay.
And I decided to do a topic on that, my research on that, to see if I'm crazy or what do you think of it? I'll give it that. As I told you, my wife told me I'm crazy. So,
well, we still don't
know yet. You haven't given us a presentation.
We don't have the title on this. We don't see the title on our screen.
Well, that is. Let me go back again.
I'm with Wilfred. If I was not going to believe in one of them, it sure as hell wouldn't be heaven. It would be hell.
I love technology.
Yeah.
When it works.
Okay, anyway.
Now you got to go
Can you hear
back.
me now?
No, we can hear you, but you got to go back to share.
Oh.
Yeah, we want to see your presentation. You've whet our appetite.
Okay, let's go back to share now. Share screen.
See, Wilfred's got his presentation in the TV behind him. That's where it is.
Share screen.
Yeah.
Good. Share.
Make sure you click from the beginning. Oh, now you're on scheduling.
No, he's on his desktop. He's showing his desktop.
There he goes.
Now here comes the PowerPoint.
All right.
You guys realize why Charles is recording this, don't you? So he can put it on YouTube to show a bunch of old geezers not knowing what they're doing, playing on.
That's right.
Yeah,
there you go.
This will probably go viral.
You're right, Gene.
And deserves to. Here we are.
Start. Now, the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection of the dead and now heaven. And the Sadducees is a group of folks that came into the Jewish lexicon, in the Jewish life around 160 something BC. They helped the Maccabees fight the Greeks. But they believed in the original version of the Old Testament. That is, they believed in the laws of Moses, especially the Torah. Anything outside the Torah, they did not believe in. So the Torah started with Sheol. And the story, I'm sure you know that. Jacob had 12 sons, and he loved Joseph the most, and apparently he showed it. And the other sons were kind of angry, upset, jealous. So when Jacob sent his son to find him in the field, when they saw him coming, they decided to kill him. Now Reuben, one of the oldest sons, said, no, he's our brother, we shouldn't kill him, we should just drop him in a well. And they did that. Reuben was hoping to go back to the well after the brothers left, pull out Joseph and take him back to his father. However, and that's where the Bible is a little murky, somebody sold him to the Ishmaelites going to Egypt. I don't know if the son sold him or some tribes passing by pulled him from the well and sold him, but Joseph ended up in Egypt. And the brothers took Joseph's coat, they killed a goat, put the blood on the coat, took it to his father, and now his father was in real mourning for his son. And this is what he said. All his sons and daughters sought to comfort him, Jacob, but he refused to be comforted and said, no, I shall go down to Sheol to my son Joseph, mourning. Thus his father bewailed him. So the idea then, in Genesis and in the Torah, Sheol was a place where the dead went. So he was going down to Sheol to meet his son Joseph. And again in Job, but mortals die and are laid low. Humans expire, and where are they? As the waters fail from the lake, and a river wastes away and dries up, so mortals lie down and do not rise again. Until the heavens are no more, they will not awake to be aroused out of their sleep. So from Genesis, which was written around 1000 BC or thereabout in that area there, and Job, which was written about a few hundred years afterwards, they had the belief that Sheol is a place for the dead, and once you're there, you do not rise. And if you go to a Psalm, come back, Yahweh, rescue my soul, save me if you love me, for in death there is no remembrance of you. Who can sing your praises in Sheol? It's a place where the dead go, and that's it. But then around 300 BC, a major event took place in the Middle East, and perhaps what they would call the world. This guy, Alexander the Great, came in. And here are the guy of Maccabees talked about it. He said, after Alexander the Macedonian, Philip's son, who came from the land of Kittim, had defeated Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, he became king in his place. Having first ruled in Greece, he fought many battles, captured many fortresses, and put the kings of the earth to death. He advanced to the ends of the earth, gathering plunder from many nations. The earth fell silent before him, and his heart became proud and arrogant. He collected a very strong army and won dominions over provinces, nations, and rulers, and they paid him tribute. But after all this, he took to his bed, realizing he was going to die. So he summoned his noblest officers who had been brought up with him from his youth, and divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. Alexander had reigned 12 years when he died. There's one thing there that my research shows may not be accurate. Alexander did not divide his kingdom while he was on his deathbed. He actually just told his generals, the strongest will reap the spoils. And for years, they fought against each other, trying to get hold of his kingdom to rule. And that is Alexander's kingdom.
Ooh.
He captured Egypt, Phoenicia, where is Israel now, from Macedonia, all the way to what they call Pakistan or India. So all these things fell under him. And wherever he captured, wherever nation he got to, he would leave some of his soldiers there to teach the people the Greek language and the Greek customs. So Greek was spoken in all these countries. And when he died, his soldiers divided the land among them. The two divisions that are important to us, the Egyptian kingdom together with Israel was given to the guy called Ptolemy Soter, one of his schoolmates who was a soldier, his army. And Arabian kingdom all the way to Pakistan was given to the Seleucid kings. And they ruled. But these kings were trying for years to capture the other kingdom. They wanted to have the whole thing to themselves. Now, the Egyptian dynasty, the Ptolemies, around 264 BC, somewhere there, since they controlled both Egypt and Israel, the guy called Ptolemy Philadelphia, he was a literature man, very much steeped in literature. he built a huge library in Egypt, in Alexandria, the town that was named after Alexander. And he collected books from all over to pack his library. And in around 264, in the 3rd century BC, since he controlled Israel also, he asked for 72 scholars from Israel to come down to Alexandria and turn the Hebrew Old Testament into Greek. His idea was there were many Israelites living in Egypt, and they needed to learn to read the Old Testament, especially the Torah, in Greek. Some people say he just wanted another book for his library. So they came down, in truth, translated the Old Testament into Greek. It took them years. I mean, wave and wave of them came down. And perhaps they established a school down there to do that. And they started from about 264 BC and ended up, perhaps they stopped around 160 something BC. So you had the whole Old Testament was translated from Hebrew to Greek. So you had two Old Testaments along now, the Greek Old Testament and the Hebrew Old Testament.
Can I ask a question, Wilfred?
Go ahead.
I thought Alexander was born in Persia. And was
No,
Persia.
No. He
He was born in Macedonia.
which is north of what we
Yeah,
now call
see?
Greece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was born in Macedonia. His father was named
That
Philip.
makes sense.
Right. His father's name was Philip. And Philip was a great warrior himself. And before Philip died, Philip was assassinated by one of his men, one of his servants. Before he died, he intended to attack the Persian Empire. And after he died, Alexander took up the responsibility of doing that. And he did a fantastic job. I think, from what I've read, he was one of the best generals that ever lived. He was just a great fellow. And he died. He was born in 356 BC. He died in 323. So he's about 33 years of age when he died. So anyway, so now you have two testaments, Old Testament. You have the Greek Old Testament and the Hebrew Old Testament. And because of the influence of the Greek, as you remember, Bill told us, the Greek brought in the word souls, the idea of souls, to the Old Testament. And in the book of wisdom, and that was written by a Greek Jew in Alexandria. Now, many people think that Solomon wrote the book of wisdom, but it's not true. Solomon died in 931 or 21 BC. And the book of wisdom was written in the 1st century BC, about 50 years or so before Jesus was born. And here is a touch that he came in with, the Greeks. But the souls of the virtuous are in the hands of God. No torment shall ever touch them. In the eyes of the unwise, they appear to die. Their going look like a disaster. They're leaving us like annihilation, but they are at peace. So here you the transition. The souls don't go to Sheol now. They're in the hands of God, and God is in heaven. So the Greek brought that in. And then it became even stronger in Maccabees 2. And one priest told me that was the first place that the heaven was ever written about in the Bible. Inhuman fiend, you may discharge us from this present life, but the King of the world will raise us up, since it is for his laws that we die, to live again forever. The Greek king was persecuting. You remember the story about this lady who had 7 sons, and the Greeks tried to get him to eat pork, and they would not do it. the first son was killed, and they called her to tell her to try to convince the guys them to eat pork to save their lives. And she pushed them on. No, 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 do not do it. Stand for the faith of your fathers. And the second son, before he was killed, said that. And again, in Daniel, a book that was written around the same time as Maccabees, and it was even clearer, of those who lie sleeping in the dust of the earth, many will awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting disgrace. Now you get this idea of the heaven and hell coming in there, based on how you live. And by the time Jesus came into the world, that heaven and earth idea was really accepted by most Jews, especially not the Sadducees, but the Pharisees did accept it. And you remember John said, in John's gospel, when Jesus was told that Lazarus had died, he went to Lazarus' home. And here is what John wrote that Martha said. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. So that sense of heaven and resurrection, by that time, in the 1st century AD, was well accepted by the Jews, except, of course, the Sadducees. Because the Sadducees were saying that did not come as a result of our teaching, because of the influence of the Greeks. And again in John, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe in me, also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I'm going. So that was really established, and Jesus believed it. And again, Jesus, in the Acts of the Apostles, Luke wrote there, and the ascension. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. There's an angel telling that Jesus told the disciples that. And you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, through Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. When he had said this, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him from their sight. While they were looking intently at the sky as he was going, suddenly 2 men dressed in white garments stood beside them. They said, Men of Galilee, why are you standing there looking at the sky? This Jesus who has been taken up from you into heaven will return in the same way as you have seen him going into heaven. And of course, since Jesus believed in it, we Christians, we firmly believe in it. But the Sadducees were not impressed. And here is Paul being tried by the Sanhedrin. Then Paul, knowing that some of them were Sadducees and the others were Pharisees, called out in the Sanhedrin, my brothers, I am a Pharisee, descended from Pharisees. I stand on trial because of the hope of the resurrection of the dead. When he said this, a dispute broke out between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. The Sadducees say there was no resurrection, and that there will be neither angels nor spirits, but the Pharisees believe in all these things. And that's the end.